The NFL is officially back, and with that, we will be predicting the winners of each game. We will be breaking down each game and why we think each team wins. Now, I will separate this into two videos, because the reality is if we break down each game for a minute or a minute and a half, then the video would be a 20 to 25 minute video, and that's not something I nor you guys would want to watch. So, for today's video, we will be breaking down 8 Week 1 games. But before we get started, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel, as all support is very much appreciated. Now let's begin. We start today's video with the first game of the year, which of course is the Texans and the Chiefs. Now, we will all be excited to get football back, but one thing I do want to say and make clear throughout this video is there will be a lot of sloppy play from every team in Week 1. The Chiefs could very well put up 35 or 40 points, don't get me wrong, but they, like everyone else, will have some rough play to get out of their system, due in large part to no preseason. Now, I think it's very possible Deshaun Watson has 400 total yards and 4 touchdowns, but let's just be honest here. The Chiefs roster is significantly better than the Texans. Combine that with coming off of a Super Bowl victory, the Mahomes extension, and the Andy Reid extension, I don't see Kansas City losing this in any way, shape, or form. I would be shocked if the champs go down in Week 1, and because of that, I have them winning 35-24. And next we go to Atlanta to discuss Russell Wilson versus Matty Ice. Atlanta, as we know, will field 10 first-round picks in offense, and they should be very good on that side of the ball. Their defense does concern me a little bit, especially against Russell Wilson, Chris Carson, and DK Metcalf. But Julio is, no matter where you stand, a minimum top 3 receiver in football, and will continue to be one in 2020. He has played 4 career regular season games against Seattle, and has went for over 125 yards 3 times against them, so he should be in for a big day. Despite the Seahawks making the playoffs last year, I don't think their roster is all that good outside of Russell Wilson. Their offensive line has more questions than answers, and I don't think their defense is all that. Now, I am eager to see how DK Metcalf performs, as he will be in for a big second year. They also have the aforementioned Carson, who should perform well too. Ultimately though, with being at home and not having to travel nearly 3,000 miles and be 3 hours out of the normal time zone, I think the Falcons win this one 27-21. And now we head to Baltimore to discuss the Browns and Ravens. Now, just being honest, the Ravens won't be able to repeat what they did in 2019. 14 wins is an incredible accomplishment, and that is almost never repeated. Anyways, they will regress by a few wins. I don't think they start out with a loss though. Whether that's related to the crowd or not, it's something else, but they have always played well at M&T Bank Stadium. Now, I realize the Browns beat them there last year by 15 points, but I simply don't think the Ravens let that happen again. Their roster is littered with talent, and I am eager to see how they use Patrick Queen, J.K. Dobbins, and Malik Harrison against them. I think the Browns as a whole will improve in 2020, but not before starting 0-1. Give me the Ravens in this one, 31-24. To Buffalo we go to discuss the Jets and Bills. I would consider myself a Sam Darnold fan, and I do want the best for him, but Jets fans need to be realistic about this one. The Bills have a far superior roster, and it's not even close. Their defense is better on every level, especially after the Jamal Adams trade, and we don't need to compare the receiving cores, especially after the Stephon Diggs trade. Diggs will be looking to prove his worth, and I truly believe he will go off in 2020. Josh Allen's accuracy is a cause for concern though, but I do think Stephon will go for over 100 yards in Week 1, as the Bills didn't give up a first-round pick and more to not throw him the ball. Now, the Bills did lose to the Jets last year, although Matt Barkley was starting, and division games generally, though not always, are closer games. I do think the Bills win this one, as they have the home field advantage and a superior roster, but I don't think it's a runaway by any means, and because of this, the Bills win 24-14. And now is the Raiders and Panthers game, and this is one not a lot of people will tune into. This game could very well go one of two ways. Derek Carr and Teddy could each have career days, and the final score could go over 70 points. Or it could go the opposite, and both players could play like game managers, and the final score could be under 30 total points. Ultimately, I think we'll see something in between, as I am very excited to see how Josh Jacobs plays in year 2, and of course, how Henry Ruggs plays in his rookie season. I have very high expectations for both of those players. Now, the Panthers of course have Christian McCaffrey and DJ Moore, so each team could very quietly, other than CMC, have some very big fantasy performers. For the final score though, I think the Raiders take this one with a score of 28-23. Next is a low-key, very interesting game, and that is the Bears and Lions. The Bears, as we know, have a great defense and will certainly push the Lions and many other opponents this season to their limits. The offense, though, is another story, and I don't think Mitch Trubisky will all of a sudden become a multiple-time Pro Bowl player and an accolades-filled quarterback, but I do have some hope for him, and here's why. Matt Nagy was hired to be an offensive-minded head coach, and they don't have great weapons aside from Allen Robinson, but that is where the offensive-minded coach needs to be his best. Trubisky threw 24 touchdowns as a second-year player in 2018. Yes, 6 came in one game, but there's no reason Trubisky can't be an average starter. If he is just an average starter, 16th out of 32, then the Bears have the talent to make a deep postseason run. Anyways, back to this game. For the Lions' perspective, it will be very hard to pass protect against Robert Quinn, Akeem Hicks, and Khalil Mack, so that will definitely present a challenge for them and many other opponents in 2020. The Lions are 3-point favorites on their home field, and the over-under is just 43.5. I think this game will be under, as we have mentioned teams will play sloppy in week 1, so I do think the under for this is a safe bet. This game will be a classic NFC North game and a defensive slugfest, and give me the Lions 20-17. And we head to Jacksonville to discuss the Colts and the Jags. Now, heading into this game, I think it's clear to everyone what the Jags' motives are for the upcoming season. They are doing everything in their power to tank and to acquire whoever their guy is, and at this point I would assume it is Trevor Lawrence of Clemson. However, what the Jags front office may not realize is the players on their roster are still playing for jobs and their short-lived NFL careers, so they're not going to throw in the towel and call it quits, and Gardner Minshew especially will not do that. In his rookie season, he threw for more touchdown passes than Kyler Murray, so there is reason to be excited about him in 2020. And the Colts haven't played a game yet with Phillip Rivers under center, so I personally don't think they're going to go into Jacksonville and steamroll them by 3 or 4 scores. In fact, I think this game will be relatively close and that the Jags will cover the 8-point spread. Could the Colts go in and run the football behind one of the best offensive lines in football? Yes, absolutely. But if you think the Jags are going to roll over and play into the front office's plans, then you're crazy. I don't think this will be very high scoring, and I think the Colts ultimately win this one 23-17. And the final game we will discuss for today's video, part 2 will be out in a few days, is the Packers at the Vikings. Now, as you guys know, I am a Vikings fan, so I will try and keep the bias out of it. Looking at the Packers season last year, they had 13 wins, and that is very hard to sustain for anybody, so I do think in that category they will regress this year. For this game though, Aaron Rodgers will get to play against a very young secondary, as the Vikings' oldest corner is just 23 years old. That does concern me for how they plan to defend Devontae Adams, and not to mention Allen Lazard. The Packers absolutely bullied the Vikings in a Week 16 game last year, in which they won 23-10. I don't think Minnesota will allow that to happen again, especially on their home turf. This should be a very good game, as most of the time between these teams, they are close, hard-fought games. With Jordan Love being the heir to Aaron Rodgers, and Aaron not wanting any part of that, I do think we will see a rejuvenated, motivated Rodgers in 2020. And ultimately, I think he starts out with a win. The Packers win in Minnesota to start the year 24-20. And with that being said, that's all I have for today's video. I do want to say I realize it is a little hard to follow along without seeing the scores on the screen, and I will be getting a new program to make videos on that, and the video quality starting in the next week or so should be much improved. If you stuck around this long, please know I greatly appreciate the time out of your day to watch my video. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel if you aren't already, and let me know in the comments what you think about my predictions. And with that being said, I'll see you guys next time. Have a great day. Skol Vikes.